You guys, I have something so fun in store for you. My very good friend and the author of my book, Miss MeiMei Fox, is joining us today for a Fireside Friday. She and I were talking the other day, and she said, I would love to ask some really detailed business questions. And I said, my listeners would love to hear really detailed business questions. Will you please come on and do Fireside Friday? And she took time out of her very busy schedule. She's launching another round of her fucking incredible course at writeyourbestsellingbook.com. She is a New York Times bestselling author. She's co-written for a lot of people, including, I don't know, the Dalai Lama, just that dude. No big deal, just like the rest of us wrote a New York Times bestseller with the Dalai Lama. MeiMei Fox is just one of my badass girlfriends who is also one of my besties, and I am going to let the interviews take it away from here. Be sure and check her out on Instagram at MeiMei Fox, MEIMEIFOX. Give her a like, give her a follow. All right, MeiMei, here's the deal. Nobody knows what you're going to ask me, including me. So this is your show. Welcome, and thank you for doing the show.
Well, thank you, Andrea, for having me. I would also like to state for the record that in addition to writing Andrea's book with her, I am the lucky beneficiary of an early insight into her amazing trading system and investing program, which she is going to be launching as her own online course. And I am so excited, you guys. This is going to be an opportunity of a lifetime to learn how to manage your finances and get control of your financial life. Yes.
Can we
Power
say,
Chick Mafia.
can I ask a question? In April, how much money did you put into your portfolio?
So I put in $3,000, and in 3 months, that almost doubled, just shy of doubling in 3 months. Meanwhile, because you all know the markets are doing well, it's not like it's been a shitty time on the markets. The money that I had in an aggressive fund with an investment manager increased 18%.
Right. And you just got to pull $2,700 out, starting with $3,000. Not too fucking shabby.
No, I'm living for it. So you're going to be lucky if you get in on this program with Andrea when she launches it.
Thank you. Not messing around. Not messing around with the trading. Also, I did mean to clarify on my show, because when I'm like, right now I'm at 73.7% for the year, those are realized earnings. Those are things that I have sold. This is profits that I have acquired. This is not something that like, oh, crypto is up by 73%, so I am up by 73%. This is actually accrued profits of things that I have sold out of the market this year.
That is unreal. Seriously, it
Pretty
is.
great.
It's phenomenal.
Compounding money is the eighth wonder of the world.
I love it. So I have a question for you. I thought we would go way back to the way back, and
Okay.
then we would just fast forward to the present, because I'm interested in a story that I haven't heard you tell yet. I am an avid listener of the podcast, you guys, so I'm a fan just like you. I listen to every single one. I'm also just starting as an entrepreneur, so I rely on Andrea's podcast for like the best entrepreneurial advice that I have found. And that is why I want to know, how the hell did you really get started? I'm talking day one. You've never sold a thing in your life. And you're like, what, 16, 17?
So I was playing with those rhythm sticks. That's the juggling toy where you hold one stick in each hand and you throw around a center stick. I was like 17 years old and had 0% of any idea of what I was going to do. And then I started selling them at like festivals. My friends threw these festivals in the desert. I would go to little street fairs. I didn't have money to even buy a booth, so I would just sort of show up at Balboa Park, roll out my little rhythm sticks that I had handmade, and sell them for like $20 each. So I'm at a festival and this guy says, oh, I own a head shop. And I was like, cool, cool. I will sell them to you. He's like, will you sell them to me for whatever, $12.50? I'm like, no, I can't afford to do that, but I can sell them to you for $15 and you could retail them at $35. He's like, great. That sounds great. I will take 4 pairs. I was like, amazing. Amazing. So I go deliver it to this little head shop in El Cajon that doesn't exist anymore called Sweet Magnolias. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's a whole lot of head shops in San Diego. So that day, I went to every head shop I could think of. I went to Crossroads in Pacific Beach. I went to the Black in Ocean Beach. I went to a bunch of them, and I even went to a kite store because I was like, this might work in a kite store. And that first day, I just banged it out of the park. I had no idea what I was doing, but they were very pretty, very visual, very colorful, and every single store that I walked into purchased some, all of them. And I know, it was the luckiest thing because you bet your fucking bottom dollar that I got no's along the way, but not in the beginning. Every store that I walked into at first with anti-establishment clothing and at first with rhythm sticks, they just all said yes. And I was like, "This is so easy." I didn't even have a catalog for rhythm sticks. I had no packaging for them. I just, like, sold them as a set, and then someone said, "Oh, you should come up with a little user manual." So my brother's an artist, and I had him sketch out a little user manual on how to do a couple tricks. This is way fucking before you could print something that even had pictures in it easily. And so it was just like handwritten drawings of exactly how to throw these toys around. And that's how I got started. I was so ungraceful in my sales approach, and it just didn't matter. I was like, "Hey, I made these things. Is your buyer here?" And very often, I already was talking to the buyer because these are tiny little stores at the time, and not the Black. The Black was like a bigger store, but they just set me right up with the buyer. Here you go.
So I just want to clarify because, again, this is like entrepreneurial skills 101.
Mhm.
You're 17, you're walking to head shops, you're selling. Are you taking pre-orders or are you like dragging I don't know, a suitcase around with you through the streets of San Diego?
My trunk was full of rhythm sticks, so I absolutely could fulfill the order on the spot. However, I would only walk in the store with, like, 4 of them, and it had the right color palette. It was, like, one of each color so that they could see. I would bring in, like, a white design and with a little rainbow coloration on it or a little Rasta set, just, like, a little variety. And they were so stunningly beautiful. Like, the ones I make, even still, if you see those toys on the market, they are physically better than the other ones. Like, they just look really pretty.
So they would buy like 4 sets of rhythm sticks from
Yeah,
you.
some of them bought, like, 24 pairs, and I was like, "Holy shit, let's go. Let's fucking go." That was, like, $500. This is in 1991, and so $500 is, like, $2,500 t now. So, like, for example, my rent was $475, so a $500 order was cray cray.
Oh my god, that's amazing. And then were you tracking this, financially? Did you what was your system that you were using?
I always was really good at Excel randomly, and so I learned how to use spreadsheets when I was really young. Again, my mom is a coder, and so I grew up with computers, and so I knew how to use, like, basic Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and I just set up incredibly basic tracking in Excel.
So you would track the orders to each of the stores, how much money you spent on your, cost of goods,
Mhm.
and then calculate your financials based on that.
Loosely.
Where did you take it from there? Like, what did you do at a festival? You said you would just like would you, like, literally lay out a blanket and put things on it?
No, I realized very quickly that the better your display was, the more stuff that you would sell. So I would set
Bingo.
up exactly. So I would set up something highly visual. I would get like a A-frame, 2 boards of wood, and then screw hooks into the boards, and then put all the different sets out so people would just see them walking by. Plus, there was a table with all of the different colors in this huge pyramid that they could sort of dig through. It was oversized. That was full of stuff. Then I would have a different area on a bigger table where it was just, like, laid out where you could see each different color, and people would be so obsessed with how pretty they were. So I would always do tiered pricing. It would be like whatever, 1 for 35, 2 for 50, whatever I can't even remember what the tiers were. It wasn't that much of a reduction. It was like 1 for 35, 2 for 60, 4 for 100 or something, maybe even 5 for 100. So that people would buy multiples. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get one for each of my grandkids. Oh, I want 3 different pairs just for myself." And then I had glow in the dark ones. I'd be like, "These ones are glow in the dark." Yeah.
So perfect. And this was at a
Mhm.
time when people were really dancing with these all the time.
Yes, yes, they were a popular item anyways. It was, the Grateful Dead was still touring. They were definitely a thing with that band. I would go to all the different rock concerts, and this is, you guys, used to cost like $12 to go see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was so inexpensive to go to concerts. So I would just set up in the parking lot whenever any cool band was coming to the sports arena because tailgating culture really was a thing. I did not have a pickup truck, but I had plenty of friends that had pickup trucks, and I would just like roll them out on the back, set up a little sign. It's like 20 bucks. And if you just had a very professional looking sign that said like $20 each or whatever the price scale was, which I obviously did, then people would just buy them. And the more official that you looked, the more that they would dish out the cash. On the weekends, I was just a hustler. I would go to Kobe's swap meet and make like 500 bucks a day on the weekends just from sales because I'd sell like 20 or 30 pairs for 25 bucks each or however much I was charging.
Where did you make your sign? I mean, again, this is pre everything on the internet. You couldn't just go to some
Kinko's,
website and be
baby.
like, "Premi."
Kinko's. Oh,
I
yeah.
remember
Remember Kinko's?
Kinko's.
Mhm.
Oh, back in the day.
Mhm. I did have an advantage also in that my brother's an artist. So whenever I needed something to be done, I'd be like, "Yo, David, let's go."
When was the point at which you started to realize, like, this is a business?
But it wasn't until really anti-establishment clothing, honestly. Even with rhythm sticks, I didn't go to college because I was making so much money because I made 70 grand when I was 18. And I was like, oh, I just don't need to go to college. I already know how to make money. But I did not know the first thing about a business. I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I just always thought that I just was lucky that I knew how to make this one product and that I was really, really, really good at them. And so I could sell them quite easily, but I wasn't just really good at them in the same way that one of my talents is being able to verbally describe a complicated thing in a short way. So in the same way that I can describe to somebody how something incredibly complicated like quantitative mathematics works, I also could really easily verbally describe to people with little analogies exactly where to put the weight on the stick and how to make this little trick go. And like if you're digging ice cream out of a 5-gallon bucket, that if you just do that motion, this one particular trick will work. So I was pretty good at teaching them, and I started teaching classes for free on Monday nights at Balboa Park. And then I would bring a whole bunch of sets with me. And then I got regulars, people that would just show up every single Monday night. You guys, there was no screens. There was no social media. There was nothing. So people really would just show up like every Monday night outside the Reuben H. Fleet Space Theater and Science Center in San Diego. And then the Reuben H. Fleet Space Theater and Science Center became one of my biggest clients.
For rhythm sticks?
Yeah, because I would explain all of the inertia and centrifugal force that's required in physics. It's a physics toy because all juggling toys essentially come down to physics. So, yeah, and I'm a geek, so I'm just a, math and science nerd. So I'd be like, "Yeah, this is how centrifugal force works, and this is how inertia works. This is how you stop it. This is how you can more quickly stop it if you adjust this way." But I would put it in science terms.
That is so brilliant. So when did it go from just being rhythm sticks to also being T-shirts then? I mean, again, I want to try and like, what was the process for you, the thought process of like, okay, now I'm earning how much that
Yeah.
I am now considering this a business?
So what had happened was, this is actually a story that I do not believe I've ever told, and it is a fascinating story because this is how I started my first $1 million company, which was anti-establishment clothing. So, I was selling rhythm sticks, and I sort of maxed out at like 150, $200,000 a year in sales. I did have employees that helped me make them. My cost of goods was incredibly low. Maybe I did a little over 200,000, but not much. And so I'm pulling again 60 or 70,000 in profit if I want it. But mostly I'm just putting it back into the company and I'm just taking whatever I actually need to live. Again, remember you guys, this is the early 90s. Things were way cheaper. I sound like I'm a million years old when I say that, but it's true. So I have all these sales, like life is going fine. This could just be my life. I could just increase this a little bit and live off of that if I wanted. But I really wanted to be very financially successful. That was always a driver for me. It's not a driver for everyone. So as I'm doing the sales for Rhythm Sticks, I meet a guy who is making $1 million a year selling t-shirts, a fucking million of them. I know. And I'm like,
Like,
that is
what even is that? That's nuts.
it is all the money in the world. That's what that is. It's all the
Yes, for
fucking money in
sure.
the world. And he was like, "Oh, but actually I only like pull maybe 100 grand for myself or 120." And I'm like, "Still all the money in the world." And at the same time, I am starting to approach bigger clients with Rhythm Sticks. So there used to be a chain of stores in the United States called the Discovery Stores, which I don't know if you remember those, the Discovery Channel. Do you remember that, MeiMei?
They were like science stores. They were stores for science nerds. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I was a science nerd. And when I tell you, I will have to find a picture and get it to Sasha to post up on the YouTube version of this. When I tell you that the rhythm sticks that I made were stunningly beautiful, they still are stunningly beautiful. Right up until very recently, I still had an Etsy store for people who just love rhythm sticks because nobody makes a comparable product to the one that I make because I am so into architecture and design and beautiful things. And so I'm gonna have to bring back rhythm sticks too, that's gonna have to
Hell
happen.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want videos of you spinning them too, because I mean, that's gone away from like festival culture. Let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back for sure. It is time for that product to retrend. Faux show. Huh? I
Yep.
just got ideas. So I'm making these sticks. I reach out to the Discovery store. One of the people that goes to my class actually works at the Discovery store and had known the main lead buyer of the Discovery stores, and they have a bazillion locations. And I called them. He hand walked my sticks into the store, and they were like head and shoulders above the sticks that they currently were sharing or selling at that store. And so the buyer was like, "Holy shit, these are so nice. Yes, we will 1,000,000% take these instead of whatever company that they were buying from." So he calls me. It is August. So it's the time of year that it is right now. This would have been maybe 93. There was no fucking Alibaba. There was no easy way for me to go mass produce something. So I am fucking psyched because they have like 100, 200, 400 locations. I don't remember, but several hundred. So I'm doing the math and I'm like, oh my God, they're probably going to buy like 10 for each location. So I'm gonna have to make 2 or 3,000 of these. And I'm like figuring out how we can do it in time and figuring out how I can come up with the money to do it in time. Because I already was selling to this place called Geppetto's, which was a small chain of toy stores that had like 7 or 12 locations. And that's about how many they would buy at a time. It's like a dozen for each store. That I have a call with the lead buyer, and he goes, "Okay, can you deliver us 50,000 units by October?"
Oh my God. I've never heard this story.
And I was like, Excuse me, the what? Sorry? That is absolutely more zeros than I thought there was gonna be." What? And he's like, "Yeah, right now we pay this, whatever it was, like $10 a pair, $11 a pair, $12 a pair, whatever it was. And we sell 50. It's our best selling thing because they would station a person in front of the store to play with the sticks. And then they would have these sample pack sticks and whatever." And I'm like, holy shit, I think it's going to be more expensive. Number one, it would have to at least be like $12. I don't have the costs figured out. He's like, we'll pay a little more. They're really nice. So I'm sobbing on the floor in my parents' house while I am watching it, while they are out of town. And I realized several things at once. If I work my fucking face off, I can get this figured out by next Christmas. Then I immediately thought, is this trend product still going to be trending next Christmas? Good question. I don't know. However, probably. Then I thought, wow, remember that guy that was making $1 million a year selling t-shirts? I need to go do that. I need to create something where I'm not responsible for the manufacturing of that item, period. I need to go create something that I can get it produced no matter how many units I sell, because clearly I'm going to be pretty good at selling things, was my s- theory, was my speculation, was my hope. And that is what I did. I immediately, after my parents came back home, I went back to my own apartment and started working on anti-establishment clothing and coming up with a concept for anti-establishment clothing, because I was like, "That's it, I need to launch a t-shirt line, I have to." Because I was I was like crawl on the floor, depressed, sad about this, but it was only for a minute. It was only for like I sobbed probably for like an hour, I'm not kidding, when I realized I was gonna have to decline this order. And then I immediately was like, "Okay, I can sell something in this quantity, I just can't also manufacture it."
Well, that is a perfect segue into this whole idea that you've been exploring lately of building a business that scales. Because you talk about that a lot in your podcast, but I was like, I want to understand the nitty gritty of that more. And this is a perfect example of that, right? Because
Mhm.
you had a fantastic product and you had the demand, but you couldn't scale.
Exactly. And now to
Although these days you probably, sorry, these days you probably could have
That's exactly
pulled that
right.
off. Yeah, with the internet.
That's
So to
exactly
be
right.
clear.
Yeah, it's so much easier to get
Yeah.
overseas suppliers. However, I very quickly realized, oh, that's why everybody else's products are not as good as mine, because they're not handled with that level of care in a factory that you're not physically managing. You absolutely can get products as good as the ones I was making overseas if you are liaising properly with the factory, but your eyes better fucking be on it or else the quality is not gonna be the same. Mhm.
Excellent. That is really perfect. So
Yeah,
you go to t-shirts because someone else is going to manufacture the t-shirts for you.
exactly.
And what you're doing is creating the designs and licensing, the branding.
Mhm. That's exactly right. So we did 2 different segments of T-shirts. Everybody in the world has seen the New Heights podcast at this point, and so when Taylor is talking about, like, there's publishing rights, and then there's masters music rights, etcetera. T-shirts, I did similarly 2 separate things. So I would create original T-shirts for stores like Hot Topic, the ones that said, "I'm bad with names. Can I just call you dumbass?" And then I would do license. I know, it's my favorite one.
I
And
love
then I
that so much.
it's so good. And then I would do licensed T-shirts, like when I owned the licensing rights on High Times magazine, and then I also did sales distribution, which is what I did for the video games. So the company Brian was with owned the licensing rights on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead, and I owned the sales distribution rights. But for High Times magazine, for example, I owned the licensing rights. And then for the other ones, I did original T-shirts. And the way that it works is there are these huge distribution places like Mission Imprintables, where I personally buy a lot of my T-shirts from, and they have millions of blank T-shirts in stock. And so you can just go down there. I don't even know how big their warehouse is right now, like 300,000 square feet, and it is floor to ceiling T-shirts. And so they are one of the biggest suppliers of T-shirts for Southern California, and they ship nationally. But you can go into these big distribution centers and just purchase blanks. Then you just have the distribution center ship to your screen printer, and your screen printer actually prints the designs on the shirts, or at some point you might get your own machinery to do that. Don't get your own machinery in the beginning. It's fucking stupid. It's a waste of money. Go to somebody who does it perfectly. Same thing with stickers. Like, you can have a Cricut, but it's not going to produce the same quality of stickers as my millions of dollars worth of equipment. It's not the same product.
Again, you have set us up for a perfect segue because now is the exact moment when I wanted to fast forward from the details of Rhythm Stick and how
Mhm.
you actually got started to the details of Sticker Junkie and how you actually run that business.
Yeah.
There's something that you mention a lot is owning your own machines.
Yes.
And since you just brought that up in terms of printing your own t-shirts, printing your own stickers, at what point did you make that decision to buy your own sticker machines? What sticker machines do you have? How many? Like, let's get into it.
So we have millions of dollars worth of equipment at Sticker Junkie, obviously from over the years. We have a lot of machines we use. Our sticker machines cost anywhere between $35,000 and over $100,000 for all the different machines that we have. If you buy like a nice machine, like an Epson or something, it's going to have a built-in cutter, but the cutter is going to leave jagged edges on the inline. So we have, a $70,000-$80,000 cutting machine. There's another cutting machine that's $125,000. That's more for if you're doing routing also, which means you're cutting like a plastic keychain or something. So we don't do plastic keychains. So right now we use a machine that's a $70,000 piece of equipment to do the cutting. And then we just have a bunch of equipment.
So when do you make the decision to buy your own piece of equipment? Is that based on how much you're earning? Is that based on your revenues, your profits?
It was based on our business model. So when we first started out, the way that I started Sticker Junkie was I owned anti-establishment clothing. Anti-establishment clothing was black and white t-shirts, like black t-shirts with white writing that said very offensive stuff in a very cool typewriter style font that would say like I sell crack for the CIA or so many of them are so bad. They're so
Oh my God,
offensive.
let's bring all of those back too, please. It is
Absolutely.
time, Andrea.
Absolutely.
Please
It
bring
is.
those back.
It is time. It is. Absolutely, yes. And so we had all of these different T-shirts and sold lots of them, sold over $1 million worth of them. But because we had like 100 different slogans, we launched that line with 98 slogans. And so I couldn't afford to print. That was not a good idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't afford to print 12 each of 98 designs, and I was lucky to find a screen printer that would print a minimum of 12 units. It was because the back all had the same print. The back had a two-color print of our logo, and the front had different one-color prints on it. So when I started Anti-Establishment, I got stickers for everything because I could afford to get stickers for 98 different styles. And at first, people kept saying like, "Hey, can you do stickers for us? Can you do stickers for us? Can you do stickers for us?" And I said, "No," but I had negotiated a low price from my printers. So I don't remember if I was buying stickers for 4 cents or for 6 cents, but it was a low price for a one color chop cut screen printed sticker, black and white sticker, which is what we had for anti-establishment clothing. It was 8.5 by 1.5 inches. The bigger ones were 8.5 by 3 inches. You will notice still to this day, the generator on Sticker Junkie, that's the size of those stickers to this day. So when I launched Sticker Junkie, it was just a sticker generator where you could choose from 16 different colors and make one of two different sizes of stickers. And you had 100 different fonts to choose from. It was the first sticker generator on the internet. As far as I know, it was the first custom product generator on the internet in 1999. It's possible there were other ones. I hadn't seen any other ones. And then you could drag and drop different graphics into the stickers. And my brother coded that very first sticker generator that we made at Sticker Junkie. And that's what we launched with. So I didn't need to print those myself. In 1999, I launched that company.
1999 launch Sticker Junkie.
1999.
It's a direct growth company. It's directly related to delinquent distribution and what you
Yeah.
were doing already with t-shirts.
It was
It
directly
was like
related.
an add-on product to that.
No, it was a different company, but people kept asking me when they would see the stickers for anti-establishment, they'd be like, "Hey, can you make stickers for me? Hey, can you make stickers for me? Hey, can you make stickers for me?" And then one day, 4 people within the same day were like, "Hey, can you make stickers for me?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. There's a business here." So then I started just to outsource. We would just collect the orders. I would send them to a screen printer. But what ended up happening, number one, we wanted to start selling all different stickers, all different colors, shapes, sizes, etc., because we were just selling bumper stickers at first. And then number two, what would happen is we would go from screen printer to screen printer to screen printer to screen printer, and we were a steady Eddie client. We were guaranteed to send you between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of work a week. And we would just say, "Hey, look, You have to deliver to us on time. You cannot put other people's jobs in front of ours. If you are late with us, we will be late with our clients." And when we first started on the internet, our delivery time was 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, I know, because that was just normal. Right up
That
until
was normal.
right up until Tony Hsieh started Zappos. That's who changed that, and Amazon, but Tony was very loud about changing it. And so we were just like, "Okay, cool, but if you're late with us, we're gonna be late with our clients. You can't do that." And then we started advertising 2 to 4 weeks, so we really couldn't mess around, and without fail, every screen printer we ever used, eventually we get, like, a huge order from the UFC or a huge order from Budweiser or a huge order from any company that is ordering, like, millions of dollars worth of stickers a year, and they would put us to the back burner. And when they did that, we would never use them again. We had already warned them. Generally speaking, I would give them one chance and I would say, "If you ever deliver to me again late, I will never, ever use you again." And I would feel really bad about it, but I was so clear with them. So I went through a lot of different screen printers because the second they were late with me, I would stop using them. And that's why we ended up taking our equipment in-house. It was actually to control the quality for sure, but really the turn time.
And how do you grow your sticker business from that point? How do you scale? What do you mean when you say we're ready to scale?
What we do is we do a lot of client approach, which is what we're doing right now. So we're doing a ton of outreach to a bunch of different organizations, companies of all different size that we know order stickers, right? It's no secret that breweries order stickers, they market with stickers. So we market very heavily to them. So any category where people are likely to be buying a lot of stickers, professional sports teams, a lot of stickers, college sports teams, a lot of stickers. So we're running down multiple different avenues at the same time. I'm not mentioning our biggest ones, but we're going down a bunch of different categories of people and transitioning them over to our systems. Then internally, we just have a better back end than I've ever seen any other company have. And so once we convert a client, they usually stay with us.
So there's scaling on two fronts, I would imagine, but correct me if I'm wrong. There's the machinery, the equipment,
Right.
and then there's the staff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's when you're scaling, the things to be mindful are people, space, equipment. You're exactly right.
Okay.
So we're mindful well in advance of exactly how much scale we want to do at once. And it's really hard to control scale, especially when you're in a viral situation. It's why I talk a lot about how like people on Shark Tank go out of business because they don't know how to control the scale. They don't know how to pause when they're scaling and they don't want to pause. They're afraid they'll never be able to get those sales again. So they want to take everything they can get.
Just like your situation with the Discovery stores when you had your rhythm sticks, you could have said yes
That's right. That's
and
right.
fed
And
them
you're,
some shitty product, right? I mean,
mhm. There will be plenty of people that hear that story and are like, "I would have just been a hustler and said yes." And I'm like, "Bitch, it was fucking 1993. You wouldn't have, there was, I was such a hustler. But I really, that whole night was chalking it up and thinking, how on earth can I produce $50,000? I don't have $250,000 to go produce that from. And then a chain store like that buys from you on terms. They pay you like 90 days later after the product lands. So I would have had to find, as a fucking 18-year-old, I'd have to find $250,000, find all of the people, get machinery built because we had little teeny tiny machines that helped us like spin the doweling and get the tape onto the doweling or precisely cut the vinyl. But we would have had to manufacture real machines. And there's no possible way I could have done that within 4 months. And I knew that I would have disappointed that client. And just would have been a fucking shit show. And so I was just like, okay, cool. If I had a year and 4 months, then I could do this. But more importantly, I need a company where this is not what I'm doing. And because I also knew that market would only be so big. And I really wanted to make unlimited dollars. And that's what I mean by scaling when I say if you have a company where the market is big enough for you to sell $1 billion worth. Now, in stickers, I can sell $1 billion worth of stickers because it is a big enough market to sell $1 billion worth of stickers. But in rhythm sticks, it doesn't matter really how big of a trend that it would become. I very much doubt that I would even be able to have a market that's big enough to sell $1 billion worth of them, unless you made it go hyper, hyper, hyper viral. Nowadays, they're so visual that I would just use influencers. I would pay a really high commission rate, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Okay. So now we're back at Sticker Junkie.
Mhm.
You've bought your first machine.
Yes.
What are you doing to scale from that point?
I already had enough business at that point, I didn't need to scale. I was already at, like,
Okay.
4,000,000 in revenue, and because I also owned the sales I know, because I also
By the
owned
way,
by the
I
way,
love how you just tossed that out.
no big deal.
Okay.
We were
No big deal.
at first, we were just a sticker brokerage, so we would just collect the orders, take them to a printer, get them printed, and send them out. We were doing all the marketing to acquire the clients, but we were not doing the manufacturing in-house at first, and that was the business model at first, and then I just switched it around to be an actual manufacturer with my $4,000,000 worth of annual revenue. So I already had an influx of scales, and I never tried to scale that company because I also owned the sales rights on Blizzard Gaming at that point, so I didn't need money from any other avenue. It was just nice to have the extra money from Sticker Junkie.
Okay, that's fascinating. So now we fast forward then to the point where you are ready to scale again when
Yes.
you came back to Sticker Junkie.
Mhm.
And what were your first steps in terms of staffing and machinery and space?
Oh my god. For those of you joining us on audio, you're missing my eyes rolling. I was just talking with one of my employees about this today. So, when I first walked back into Sticker Junkie, that company was broken. I've shared very transparently. You can go re listen to the first episode ever if you haven't heard that story. But no one on my staff even knew how to properly use the equipment that I had. And I did not realize that. And so the very first thing was a huge, steep, fast learning curve on the best machinery, the best equipment, the best processes. Then from there, I hired on a staff again, and it was small at first. There were just four of us total. And I just remembered what it was like to be a leader and to lead my staff and to delegate and to ensure people were doing what they needed to do. And the biggest, hardest part is actually creating a cohesive team that gets along together. The hardest part of scaling a team is understanding what do you want to create? Where do you want to be in 7 years? Where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in two? Where do you want to be in five? Where do you want to be in seven? And then getting everyone that works for you in line with that vision, especially if you're scaling and letting them know, hey, this is a scaling company. Nothing is stagnant here. It's going to look so massively different a year from now that you're not going to recognize it from today. So if you're a person that cannot keep pace with fast growth, you will not make it on my team, period. And if you are a person that is not a team player, you will not make it on my team, period. So laying down really strong expectations so nobody is really caught unaware when they're let go. Now, people are still caught unaware, but they've had plenty of warnings, generally speaking, before they're let go of like, this isn't going to work for us. These attitudinal corrections, they need to be fixed. Because if you have infighting, if you have back channeling where someone just hates the management team, that is intolerable in our company. If you have a problem with us, you can literally come talk to us. And it's also about creating that openness where people know that not only are they capable of coming and bringing a problem up to me or any of the other members of the talking heads, as we call ourselves. Brian came up with that name.
I love that. That's so brilliant.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And also really habituating people into understanding that rehabituating them really into a different relationship with their job. That this isn't just some fucking jobby job that you hate and you got to go stamp your card. If you don't like working here, we do not want you working here, period. But we also make it really fucking fun for our people. But some people like they don't like constant change. One person that I let go of, she kept being like, but it's different every day. And I'm like, okay, if you are disappointed with the difference within the 2 months that you have been here, you are not going to make it on my team in 2 years because it's going to continue to be different every day for the next 7 years until we get where we're going. So really 5.
I would imagine that people have to be a little adaptable in their role too for that exact reason. Like your
Yes.
role's going to shift from when you're a 4-person company to you're a 20-person company.
That's exactly right. There's then we were at 7 people, and there's only 2 of those 7 people are still with me. Mhm.
Wow.
But the 2 people that are still there, my guess is they're gonna be there for the next 7 years. So when I say, "If you make it with my company for 3 months, we expect you to be there in a year. And if you make it with us for a year, we expect you to be in 7 years. This is a place you can build a career, and we want you to build a career here." So when somebody I know I used the example of Michi last week coming to us and saying, "Hey, I wanna learn how to code again. I wanna get my coding skills up to scratch." We're like, "Great." So when someone wants to do an extended learning thing, we do the best that we can to facilitate that. We can't afford a lot of it right now, but we're going to be able to by the end of the year. So it's an exciting level of growth right now.
That's I would have loved I mean, there's so many people who would love to be a part of that and want that energy, right, in their career. Um, can you run us through where you're at now in terms of like what do the people on your staff do? What are the roles?
We have several people in graphic design. Obviously, you would imagine with the sticker company, there's a lot of correction of different proofs that come in when people submit their artwork. Then there's a lot of work in creating our back end system that people do. There's a lot of people who are actually in production physically printing stickers, as you would imagine. There's people in customer service, and then we have Brian, who is our operations manager, who just makes sure that the boats run on time. Just, yeah, small job, and make sure that the equipment is set up in the right way. For example, before I left the office today, Dana had created this board that looks like a clue, old school clue board with different cutouts for every different piece of equipment and machinery. And we've named all of our machinery. And that so that you could move around the different stickers for the different machinery so they could map out how they wanted to revamp the space. Every person on my team is so creative and their ideas are listened to and solicited. And when somebody is doing a job all day, Dana is our night manager at Sticker Junkie, and Dave is our day manager at Sticker Junkie. And so Dana and Dave were cracking down with different like ideas. And then Jenny came into the conversation and Brian, and they were like, "Well, we want to move the cutters in here, but it's going to be too loud." And Jenny was like, "Oh, we could just drill a hole through the wall and put the vacuums on the other side of the wall in the warehouse." Brilliant.
Oh
So
my god.
it's just a cooperative team effort of everybody really understanding the equipment, understanding the machinery, understanding the process, and they are all here for it with where we are going in the future so that when it is hard and we do need to say, "Oh, hey, who wants to work overtime because we need to run 24-hour shifts all week to handle the week that we had last week where our sales had doubled." Everyone is like, "I'm in. Let's go. I want this to happen." And because they're aiming to make a career here, it's so weird to me how much untapped potential exists in most corporations, and it's because they don't treat their people like grown-ups. The amount of rehabilitation that I have to do towards people when they walk in the door to understand that when I call you in my office, it's to solicit your brilliant mind. You are not in trouble. You are not going to the principal's office, is not how I conduct myself. You're coming in to tell me some brilliant thing about your particular department.
It's so exciting and rewarding to
Is
be a part of a situation like that. Are you running your machines and you have like round the clock sticker production? A
just
sticker
about,
junkie?
just about, not quite. And
That's amazing too.
some days, yes, some days 24 hours, but we're not at 7 days a week, 24 hours quite yet.
And as you prepare to scale more,
Mhm,
you have capacity on those machines because you're limited by the amount of stickers you can print and cut on your
that's
machines.
exactly right.
And you have capacity with your staff. And then what? Yeah.
We have the capacity to do probably 2 to 3 times the amount of sales without needing one single extra piece of equipment. And then a really good rule of thumb will be to have your equipment at 80%. So that would be an indicator for us to purchase more. Like, we'll know that we need more if we're at 80% time on the machine. That way, if we hit a little viral blip or if we bump up a little bit, there's still space to handle it. Mhm,
That is exactly what I was
mhm.
curious about. Like, when do you know that you need more?
Yes. The other best tip that I can give for building a team is make money really important and tell your employees exactly how you're profit sharing with them, but make the vision far more important. But money is important. So when you talk about building a career, a great career, the best place to work for also means you're going to make a living wage. You're going to have plenty of cash. You're going to get very properly compensated for what you're doing. And a lot of people on my team, they saw the vision of it and they see the vision of it. And they are, quite frankly, making less right now than they could get at other places. And they're in it for the long haul.
That's so awesome. Where do you expand from here, or do you? Like, do you see moves, parallel moves in the marketplace to producing other products that are similar to stickers?
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah,
have in mind?
in the next couple of months, we're adding holographic stickers, glitter stickers, clear stickers, and magnets. That will all roll out in the next 3 months. Yeah. Once we have that under control and expand further, we're actually redomiciling our location to a bigger location because that needs to happen also, and we'll bring on t-shirts at that point. And from there, we'll roll out into virtually all of the cool product categories. Like, we're not gonna do mugs. I don't think mugs are very cool. Like, we're not gonna do glassware. I don't like glassware. Printed glassware is not my jam. Although, I mean, it's cool when you see it in a brewery or something, but that's probably not an expansion category that we would go into. You have to deal with breakage. It's a whole different set of machines, etc. But we will expand into packaging.
What do you
Packaging
mean
is
by
huge.
that?
We'll expand into like puffy envelopes, flat envelopes that are made out of the plexi sort of plastics. We'll expand into printing on corrugated boxes, perhaps. I don't know about the boxes, but maybe there's a bunch of conglomerates that sort of own all the box business. We will for sure expand into printed packing tape, etc. And, coffee bean bags, just all of the different product categories that people buy in mass, especially stuff that is a single use product. We're obviously expanding quickly into labels. Those will roll out in the beginning of next year. So when you open your refrigerator and you see that like every single jar in your refrigerator has a label on it, some people, some companies do buy stickers from us for that, but our stickers are the highest quality material that you can imagine. So that is a really nice touch when it's on an individual, really expensive. Like, I'm fucking bougie. And so if I'm buying a $14 thing of peanut butter, from my very, very favorite everything butter from Fix and Fog. Oof, buy it. It's so good. Buy it.
Oh,
Um,
hello. I need to go get that.
it's I'll send you some, it's so good. There's a really, really nice label on that that's like an equivalent of one of our stickers. But for most packaging stuff, they don't need it to be that nice because it's not gonna, like, be in the sun for 7 years like a bumper sticker is. So then you buy labels. But the nice equipment, the nice piece of machinery to purchase labels, those cost anywhere from $600 to $900,000 for that piece of equipment. I know, I wish you could see MeiMei's face right now.
Oh my God. That's like to print labels on pickle jars and whatever, all the things in your fridge.
Yes, and then all the really nice craft labels on wine bottles that, like, look beautiful, but they're just not very durable because they don't need to be, because 'cause you're just gonna
Oh
drink
my
that.
gosh.
Mhm.
So those are all stickers too.
Yeah. Those are all stickers. If you want to blow your mind, we're about to do a reel on this, like, open your refrigerator door. There's gonna be 2 stickers, instructional stickers on the interior of your refrigerator door. Open your dishwasher, same thing. Open your car door, same thing. Open your any cabinet in your house, every single product in your house has stickers on it. This is a $42 billion annual space. 42 billion. Yeah, wild, wild.
I'm so excited for that reel because I never think of that as being stickers. I think of stickers as the cool, very necessary things that are on my computer and my emotional support water bottle and right. All the things that
Yeah.
you buy as mementos when you travel or from your school or whatever you're a fan of, your coffee shop. I don't think of them as being utilitarian.
Yes, that's why it was such a big deal when Sticker Mule decided to put a 100-foot long Vote for Trump sign on their rooftop and come out with an R word pass. I'm like, yo, nobody realizes this is a $1 billion industry. They have 1,100 employees. We are pulling 2.4 million annual right now with 16 employees. So you do the fucking math on how much money they're making. No Fortune 500 wants to sit in bed next to an R word pass.
No. And
No,
very few of
no,
them
they
want
sure
to,
don't.
and very few of them want to even, yeah, have their labels printed by them.
No, they sure don't.
Wow. So
Yeah,
they are
wild.
in that business. They're in that business of
Mm.
the stickers for everything, these kind of yeah.
I didn't know
S
exactly what their business is. You can go check out
okay.
their products on their website. Draw your own
You don't need to do
conclusion.
that. We will
But
wait
so
for
when I
Sticker Junkie to start producing them, thank you very much.
That's exactly right. So they had a really big leader advantage to us because I wasn't in that company. I wasn't in that company for years when I went back into that company. And then I came back into that company. And now we
And
have a path to growth. We'll be at 10 million by this time next July. We'll be at 50 million the year after that. We'll be at 250 million in the year after that. And there's a whole lot of shit that you gotta do when you're still only making 2.4 million.
so we were at the point of the expansion into stickers everywhere,
Mhm.
and all the products that have stickers.
Yes.
And then parallel to that, things like magnets, which you said you're going to start launching in a few months. I
Yes, we'll have
imagine that that requires a new machine.
the machines that we have can handle magnets, yeah. It's just a different process to add into.
Okay.
Alright, you guys, so here's the deal. MeiMei gets a side podcast. She gets something that I lovingly call the X-Files. MeiMei Fox edition from Andrea Lake 101, because every time I come in here and I'm like, "Legally, I can't talk about this." MeiMei knows all that shit. She's NDA'd. So, do you have any juicy questions to take us out? You can ask one, you can ask a couple, all up to you.
I can. Okay. I love it. I have a couple of them. I want to know, what was it that day when you woke up in September of 2023 that made it different from the previous 180 days leading up to it? That made you say, this is the moment.
I was in an incredibly unique position in 2023. I was trading in my portfolio, and my portfolio was quickly gaining traction. I have been trading in a new system that I wrote for about 7 or 8 months, so for about the same amount of time that I have been this year so far. Today is August 27th. I've been trading in this system for 8 months. My portfolio was up about the same amount that it is right now, about 74%. Because of the way that compounding returns work, I will do somewhere between 280 and 420% this year. It's impossible to say, just depends on the volatility of the market, but somewhere in that range. So I was set up to do that with my entire portfolio. And because I was doing it professionally as my profession, I was also pulling a salary out. So I was pulling profits out of every trade. So I knew that there was bad things happening at Sticker Junkie. I was not confused about that at all. However, I thought that my portfolio would outpace whatever was going on with Sticker Junkie because it was so quick that I had to start selling stuff because we had just, and I mean just, lost our biggest client. We had Pepsi as a client, and we lost them. You bet your fucking bottom dollar
I'm
I'm
face
trying to get
palming
that
right
back.
now.
As well you
Yeah.
should. As well you
Oof.
should. And we had so many big clients that we had very quickly lost over the course of that year. It's like the person that was running that business just lost his mind. He started having direct communication with clients. I very famously had said in a reel that went viral when I found out that he called one of my clients on the phone and said, "Well, I can't just print these for you for free. How do I know you're not a scammer?" And I was like, "The fuck? What the fuck did you just fucking say to one of my clients? Are you kidding me right now?" And so I didn't realize how very badly that the customer service was doing because I had a wonderful woman in customer service. The person that was managing that shop never should have been communicating with my clients. In a million years, I wouldn't have set it up that way. And it lost us huge accounts. There were some stickers that were misprinted for Pepsi, and he made them return the stickers to us before he would reprint them again.
Yikes.
Mhm. So while the company was sort of limping along, it wasn't doing terribly until we lost a number of clients very, very quickly. And so I thought, oh, there's things going on, but I didn't know what the financials were because it snuck up on me really quickly. that the company was actually losing that volume of money because it happened really fast.
And what made you decide to get back in there, roll your sleeves up, move into the warehouse, like work 24/7 instead of just selling it or getting rid of it or shutting it down if you were doing so well with your trading? What was the motivation?
Oh, I had no choice at that point because I was already so backwards. So when I went in the company, that certainly was an option when I very first walked in there. But selling it off for parts wouldn't even cover the debt that the company had acquired, and it was losing money so quickly. I had no choice but to go turn it around. It would have taken me entirely out. As it was, to keep it limping along, I had to sell my entire portfolio, and I missed the most important part. I had a couple of really large long-term bets. I bought a bunch of Ethereum when it was $750. Ethereum is $4,800 today, and I bought a fuck ton of Solana, which is a cryptocurrency. This is not financial advice. These are things I personally own. Every single disclaimer. Solana today is $205 and it was $10 when I purchased it. And my plan was to sell the Solana at $180. And I'm pretty fucking good at that. So I had a pretty strong idea that that's where it was going. And had that happen, which is where it did in fact go, but it went there 4 months after when I needed it to go there. And so I had to sell my $10 Solana at $18, knowing full fucking well it was just about to be $180 a coin, but I didn't have any other choice because once the IRS reached out and was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Would love to have a little sweet rendezvous with you at our offices." I had to come up with cash right now and fix that company. And what it doesn't matter how expensive your equipment is, it's the same fucking thing as buying a car. It loses so much value the second you drive it off the lot. So the $70,000 cutter that I just bought like a few months ago, no chance that I could get anywhere near that. I'd probably sell it for 45,000 if I was lucky. Because if you're selling it, people know you need to sell it. And there's very few people that need to buy one of those.
So it was necessity to
It was
make that happen.
absolute necessity. If I could have gotten away with not going in there, I wouldn't have gone in there. If it was a thing where I could have held on to that Solana and it shot and I could sell it and then just pay the money necessary off to the IRS and off to any different creditors and shut it down, oh, I absolutely would have. But I truly didn't have a choice.
So tell us, what is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now, and what you like best about having come back? Because we want to hear that part too.
The biggest challenge right now is just that I have to be on and be a salesperson and be in sales mode and go knock on the doors regardless of whether or not that person likes me, regardless of whether or not that person's going to be nice to me when I contact them. Sales is just hard. You just have to have a really thick skin, but we're running down the avenue of so many sales right now. So that's just my job. And that is the hardest part for me personally. The hardest part for us as a company is always going to be just really maintaining our team culture. And we are incredibly mindful about that. We put a lot of time and effort into it because when you build your foundation on rock and everyone understands the vision of the future that they're creating and everybody is a true team player, then you have a solid team. And so as long as we maintain that as we scale, that's going to be the biggest thing for us to keep our eyes on. In addition to that, Brian's biggest issue is to make sure that we don't scale too much too quick and that we can actually fulfill the orders in a really good time frame. And what was the other question?
So tell me, what's the most rewarding? What's been the best part about making this comeback over the last, coming up on your 2-year anniversary very soon?
Yeah, the best part is the people. The best part is the people that
Mm.
we have at the company. It's so fun to go into. That's not just fun for them to go in the office, it's fun for me to go in the office. It's fun for me to see people thriving. It's fun for me to see somebody come out of their shell and just like really get to have some big idea for the company and then show it into reality and have everybody be like, "Whoa, that's so freaking cool. How did you even think of that?" And to see the pride of the creation of what they've created and also just to see how well that the team like gets along with each other. There's people who have made friends for life with other members of the team, or even if we were for some reason to disband tomorrow, they literally would be friends for the rest of their lives. And I love that. And I just love creating a work environment where people truly, truly love coming in there. I got to see a lot of that when Raphael came down last week to shoot the TV show, and some of the interviews that was being done with my staff where they were just like almost in tears of like, I didn't even know a workplace like this could exist. And especially some of the stories, like this woman was an Instacart driver and brought me wine like the night that Donald Trump got elected. And she was so fabulous and so amazing. And we had this little chat barely at all. And I was like, we're hiring all the time. If you ever want to come on my team, I would hire you. And now she works for me, Kiana. That's how she got her job there. Yeah.
I love that story. That's such a
Mhm.
fun story.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm excited to continue following your amazing progress. I'm so excited for you to launch all the things, magnets to Parachick Mafia
Yes.
course. Yep.
Well, MeiMei, thank you so much for joining us. And again, you guys, if you've ever wanted to write a best-selling book, MeiMei has done that a few times, been a New York Times best-selling author on the New York Times, #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And she teaches a course. You can find it at writeyourbestsellingbook.com. You can also follow her and all of her amazing magical stuff that she gets up to at MeiMei Fox on Instagram. Maybe anything else that you're working on right now that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, that's the most important things right there. Aside from your book, you're going to think I'm a pathological liar, which we are working on and is going to be so fun. Spill all the tea, take you back through all the stories from the very beginning to right now with Sticker Junkie and Sticker Wars. And um, it's going to be really fun.
It is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
I swear to God, our takeover of the sticker industry is going to be a Harvard business case study one day. It really, really is. I can't wait. And thank you for being the documentarian who's writing my book. You're going to think I'm a pathological liar. Should be available early next year. All right, May have a super great day. Thanks for joining us. And guys, we'll see you next time on Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. Thanks for coming by.